Well, we just want to thank you for being here today. We are here happily to recognize the increased revenue numbers that came out today. And so we will be addressing how to spend those vital dollars in the weeks ahead. I will also mention that some aren't here from the press. The Senate Republican availability is still ongoing, but we thought for time efficiencies we'd start and again answer questions, see what issues are on your mind, and before turning to that, let me have Representative Litvack also offer some comments about where we are with the budget.
Thank you, Senator Romero. Really good news. Obviously, revenue's coming in even stronger than we had expected. But a voice of caution, not good enough in terms of covering all the needs that are out there. If we just look at what those revenue estimates mean in terms of backfilling the base budget, we don't even reach the $313 million, obviously. So it leaves $50 million of that structural deficit unfunded, as well as enrollment growth in public education and Medicaid. So there are still, as the chair of the House Appropriations Committee, Executive Appropriations Committee announced on the floor of the House this morning, good news, we're heading in the right direction, but still have our work cut out for us.
There was a big press conference this morning about some of the issues for Medicaid coverage of different programs, like the presence of treatment and things like that. Do those stand a pretty good chance? I mean, what are you hearing?
Well, I can speak from the Appropriation Committee, Social Services Appropriation Committee. The Appropriation Committee did, in my opinion, a very good job in terms of the prioritization list. As we spoke last week in the last press briefing in terms of some of the funding and revenue ideas that that Social Services Appropriation Committee. So yes, I think there is a very good chance. I think that will be a priority. I think the additional revenue numbers, the rosier picture, so to speak, does not take out, in my opinion, does not reduce the need to look for additional revenue sources. So what we identified in Social Service Appropriation in terms of the tobacco settlement dollars, when we look at the governor's proposal to look at the quarterly tax estimates, there is still some need to look at outside of our growth to make sure all the critical needs in our state are addressed.
I guess I would add, though, I mean, obviously with these improved numbers, we feel better about the road that the state is on, the term of opportunity, and also to remember that we still have, $212 million rainy day fund. And so, bridging into better times, I think, is responsible, recognizing that this budget deficit doesn't need to be closed, the structural imbalance, necessarily in 1 year. And I think this helps the advocates who recognize that budgets come every year, and the needs are addressed year by year. Will recognize that there's good reason why we should be able to meet the community's needs with not a lot of global cuts. I think that this should bolster the community's sentiment that there's money to cover the needs that we have been covering. I think it's also important to stress that we have cut the state budget by 13% over 2 years. I think a lot of people who pick up the newspaper might not appreciate how much we have already cut and how this is really getting into critical service areas with additional cuts. And so we should be extremely leery of new cuts, recognizing that we have already gone through that for the past 2 years, and our budget's in a better position now than it had been.
There's a talk of increasing the food tax and lowering the general sales tax. What's the Democrats' position on that?
First, I'd say we haven't taken this to our caucus, so I wouldn't say there's a Democrat position on this. However, I would say that we have been, and continue to be very sensitive to the impact of putting sales tax back on food to the poorest of the poor. Part of the strategy of removing the sales tax on food was to address the low-income community, and we have some pretty strident concerns about what the
recognizing that it was a Herculean effort to remove it, I think there needs to be a lot more discussion about the reason to put it back on, particularly in this environment. And it specifically needs to address the poorest of the poor. That this community has to eat. Putting it on other sales tax items doesn't really get to their needs and the needs of food consumption.
What about the idea when it comes to the budget of finding things that generate one-time revenue? Whether it's, I think McKiff's food tax proposal would delay, he's open to delaying the implementation of the general sales tax decrease, generate some money one time. The governor had his quarterly tax reporting that was generated. What do you guys think of using one time to sort of balance this year's budget, fund some growth, and then hopefully next year there's, I guess, more revenue?
Well, I think Senator Romero, before you came in, Senator Romero made a great comment in terms of where we're at and what the new revenue estimates show. The new revenue estimates show that we are growing, making that transition out of the recession. We're doing well. And in a way you can justify use of one-time dollars because we're going to grow out of this structural deficit. So I think we can feel comfortable using one-time dollars for the most critical needs like public safety that we haven't addressed with ongoing dollars, and feel comfortable that we're not going to add long-term to our structural deficit.
There are programs that one-time dollars can help tremendously. Public safety is one example where we can keep our prisons open, we can keep officers on the street. I'll also recognize that there is the recidivism for those that get the benefit of counseling on sexual incarcerated crimes is very low, but they need to go through the process of getting proper training and proper counseling. And so there's an area where we can expedite their participation in those programs so they can be appropriately released into the community, which is where the vast majority will be ultimately. But if the backlog is we don't have enough money to get them through the training, this is an area where we can get some training done, we can get them back in the community, they can be properly supervised and yet become paying members to our community instead of drawing down on incarceration numbers. So there's a lot of things that can be done with one-time money that are important.
So for Democrats, what's your main message to the public with these new numbers, or to the rest of the legislature or anything else?
Well, I think the main message to me, and never speak for Senate Democrats because they're the high block. The main message to me is that we're heading in the right direction and the economy is recovering, but the work's not done. We have more needs. We have needs that we need to continue to address. My message to the public is to continue to contact your legislator, members of the executive appropriation. There's still prioritization that is going to happen, and we need to continue to have the feedback from the public.
Are there certain areas that you're most worried about in terms of the potential, even with these positive figures, for cuts or shrinkage of the different programs that you might be concerned about?
Well, I think our priorities will always be the same: public and higher education, social services, health and human services, and public safety. Those will always be our top priorities. But we also have to pay attention. This is another great source, great use for one-time dollars. We need to be careful if there are cuts and those types of cuts in terms of what it means for our long-term recovery. There were a lot of cuts that were put on the table that are going to cost us and the taxpayers more money in the long run. And that's things that we need to stave off.
And hopefully we can use some of that money also on match rates to improve opportunities in providing services in our community. So, hopefully we can maximize these dollars in a responsible way. I think the general message I would say is, the need to cut services and agencies, I think, has been allayed by these new numbers. We have done that in 2 years running. We have done hard work for the last 2 years, and things look better, so we should be critical of the programs we offer, but I think we already have it over the course of the last 2 years. And